Welcome to a War Game review from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant.
And I'm Alexander.
Today, it's actually Labor Day, and we decided to get together. We played a couple of games. We decided to play together a cooperative version of the new game from Dan Versen Games called Pavlov's House, The Battle of Stalingrad. This is a solitaire game, but it also has a couple of variants. It has a cooperative variant and a competitive variant. So today, our review is going to be about the cooperative variant.
Yes.
And we'll talk about elements of the system, but I'm going to do a further more in-depth review of the solo game because that's what it's designed as. And I'll also do a playthrough video. Just need to get around to that. I played the game 9 times now today. Not today, but till now, and you've played it once.
Yeah, it's my
Today
first
was
time.
your first play. So once again, the game is a very interesting game. It is based on a static defense of Pavlov's house during the Battle of Stalingrad during World War II. Pavlov's house was simply a 2-story apartment-style building that the Soviets used as a command post for the area, and the Germans kept attacking, trying to take over.
Was it named after the commander?
It was. It was named after Pavlov, who was not the dog, right? Not Pavlov's dog, the psychological thing, but the commander's name was Pavlov. And they held out for several months. So that's what this game replicates. So the game is very interesting. It has one board, but the board is divided up into 3 separate elements. One is the operational level, or a look at the Volga River. And on that board, you're trying to get supplies across the river and do defenses to try and keep the Germans away, because everything on that board will ultimately affect Pavlov's house. In the middle of the board, this is 9 January Square, which is the area immediately surrounding Pavlov's house. And the German Wehrmacht, I think it's the 6th Army, is assaulting the building, and they come in waves. And then the tactical level is Pavlov's house itself, the interior, and you have a bunch of counters that represent the Soviet forces defending that strong point, and they get to have to move around and do different attacks and defenses and things like that. So it's I think a really neat and innovative look and handling of this scenario. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I thought this was a really clever system.
Right.
And the way that the board's divided up, it's not too much to manage in any way, shape, or form. But I thought that was such a cool way of doing it. Because a lot of solo games, you get stuck, right? It's either a big operational game, or it's a small tactical game, or somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. But here you get all three of those.
Yeah.
And they're all meaningful as well. Like the Wehrmacht is more of just like a track for the incoming ones. And
it reminds me of
you're going to get hosed.
States of Siege, right?
Yeah, very much so.
From Victory Point Games.
But having all of the supply, you literally are trying to get supplies across the river, but you're trying to get your anti-aircraft installed to defend against Stuka bombers. That's where you have to set up artillery to give support to Pavlov's house. You're also trying to establish like a communications network so that you can get more stuff going for them. So there's a lot of stuff to manage there. And that makes a difference. If you can't get the supplies across, everyone's going to starve to death.
Right.
The siege is going to break them. If you can get the artillery in place, you can really help wipe out the Wehrmacht before they even get to Pavlov's house. And the dive bombers are there to basically you're just trying to shoot down the Stukas before.
Yeah.
If they can kind of clear the board, it's just you're defending rubble and you just lose the game basically if they disrupt everything on that level. But having the way it translates into the tactical game, it's really neat because the supplies have a very direct effect, but it's more of if you can't do stuff on the operational level, it's just harder for that tactical level.
Yeah.
But if you can get your operational stuff going really well, at a tactical level, they've got a bit more freedom to do what they want.
Yep.
They've got a bit more leeway in the things that they can do. It's not necessarily as desperate.
Yeah.
But very hard to do either one of those things.
Yeah.
So,
and I think you hit a very important point. That operational stuff, the actions there, I'll focus on 2 particularly, the artillery and the sappers, right?
Yes.
So getting sapper units across the river that come in. They actually have multiple uses. One use is that they kind of act as a last line of defense on these siege tracks. If you can place a sapper counter here, the Wehrmacht counters, as they move into them, are passively going to be attacked.
Yeah, they're landmines.
So it's like a last line of defense. So that's really cool. If you don't have those, you're probably going to get overrun, frankly.
Yeah, it's much
at least
easier
one
for
or
it to
two
happen.
of them. And then the other way those sappers can be used is you're going to repair the building, because the building is going to be attacked, and the building has defense values on each side. And as those defensive values degrade, your guys become easier to hit by snipers, mortar fire, as well as other units.
Yeah, small arms fire, all that kind of stuff.
And then the artillery, like Alexander said, if you've got multiple units, German units on these tracks, if you can call in an artillery strike, you can kill 2 units with 1 shot. That's very powerful.
Yes.
It's very hard, and
yeah.
it's expensive,
And it's so because
But-
you've got to get the artillery in place and keep it there.
and have a guy, a forward observer,
Who's expensive
who's expensive, and he has to be not disrupted and not exhausted.
and alive.
And then you got to use him. So it takes a lot, but it's very powerful. So the game boils down to, if you do very poorly on the operational level, you're not going to do well on the tactical level, and you're going to get overrun by the Wehrmacht. If you do very, very well on the operational, it's going to be much easier. Still, you can get lost.
Oh,
Bad
yeah.
rolling.
Oh,
Right?
terrible rolling.
We rolled so many 1s and 2s.
It's amazing that we won the game.
Yeah, we had a minor
I should not be
victory
allowed to roll.
together, but lots of neat elements. I think David Thompson did a great job of envisioning this and then bringing all these elements together to make a very playable game. Alexander also made a comment. These 3 maps, it flows. You do your 4 cards there. You play 3 of them. You move here. You pull 3 German cards. You move some counters around. And then you come here and you get your 3 or 4 actions, depending on whether you have your commanders out. And it flows. The game takes about 75 minutes. I've played it as fast as an hour.
If you lose terribly, it could be 20
It could be over
minutes.
quicker. And I've lost sometimes very, very quickly. Lots of neat elements. What was something that you found very interesting? We've already talked about a lot of
Yeah,
interesting things.
but that's just it, though. I think this system is interesting and cool. This provides me with a lot of what I look for in a solitaire game, because you get the really personal tactical level, which I love. So you get great story out of, like, oh, my one guy manning this machine gun.
Yeah.
He's been through so much, and I'm keeping him alive.
Yeah.
This desperation. He's the one, every time I roll, he's the one that shoots him, and he gets him. So you get that cool aspect where you get kind of attached to your guys, but you also...
And they actually have historical pictures as well with names.
Yes.
I think that's a nice touch.
Cool. A lot of good research has gone
Yeah.
into that, which is nice. But you also get, like, you got to manage your resources, so to speak, and do that in that higher level. So you get a bit of everything, which I think is cool. I enjoy games that have the kind of track, the state
Yeah.
of siege, where it's, I'm coming in here and here and here, where they're advancing on you, that kind of tower defense thing.
And you have to manage that.
Yes.
These tracks are shorter. The side tracks, the green and the purple. The other tracks have 3 to 4 spaces, but these only have 2 or 3. So you really got to keep your eye on these. The other interesting thing about this is these tracks are random. So when you pull a rifleman, a machine gunner, a tank, or a scout, you literally roll a 6-sider. Oh, I rolled a 1. I'm going to go to the 1 track. If I already have 3 units on there, guess what? You put a 4th unit and the game's over because you auto lose. Really like that. I told you this has happened to me multiple times. There'll be 3 or 4 units on a track. I'm like, well, if I roll a 4, I lose. Of course, I roll a 4, and that's just the way it happens.
So you've played this a lot. How
I
many
have.
times have you won this game?
Including today, I played 9 times. I've won 4 times.
And that is what I look for in
Yeah.
a solo game.
Yeah.
I want to win about half the time
Right.
or less.
And my first 2
Then
times,
it's challenging.
yeah, my first 2 times I had no idea what I was
You
doing.
just get crushed.
I mean, it was over before I even knew what was happening. But
I want
very challenging.
I want a solo game to be challenging,
Yep.
but doable.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there's also
tactics
the
cards.
tactics cards.
Which are brutal,
This
by
just
the way.
makes this game way harder. So if you get this down and you think you're great at it, you just get to throw this deck
Yep.
of cards in, and it's like everything is more powerful against you.
Yeah, Stukas are harder to hit.
Or there's more.
Or there's more Stukas. Or the artillery shots get a +1. So it's like all of a sudden, everything that's already difficult becomes that much more difficult.
And that's good. I want that in a game,
Right.
I want to be able to play it. You've played this a lot of times. Then at some point you want more of a challenge.
Yeah.
You throw these in as this whole extra, and then you play that another 8 times with those.
Right.
So there's a lot of game here to be had. The Wehrmacht deck is constructed,
Yep.
but still random.
It's random.
Within that.
There's about 8 to 12 cards in each stack, and you shuffle those, and then in between each of the 1 cards and the 2 cards, there is what is called a resupply card, and it's the same on every side. On the other side, there's a storm group that you're trying to defeat to gain a certain amount of victory points. So that's the way the deck changes, and it can be very different from game to game.
Yeah.
There's been times where I drew all the Stukas early, and then it's like, oh, there's no more Stukas. And I know how many Stukas are in each level, because the Stukas are they're the bad part. If you let them get out of hand, you're done. You are done. So the other thing I liked that we used was the operational support cards. They are just an extra card that allows you to get victory points. You can ignore them, which I think we got, 2 of them?
We got 2. We got one very early on, worth 1 victory point. And another one was worth 4.
So that was 5 victory points and ended up giving us 22, I think, for a minor victory, which was great.
We had
without those, I think we would have had a minor victory, but it would have been a lower level.
We had 12 points or something in the end.
Did we have 12?
Because we had
33 minus 22. We had 11.
Yeah, we had no points.
We still got a minor victory, so we won. We won the game. But yeah, that's a neat element. So those operational support cards, the tactics cards, you add those in, and the game increases in difficulty and in challenge. And I think that's important. Dan Versen games. We've played a lot of DVG games, a lot of Leader Series games.
Yes.
How does this one stack up in your mind compared to those solitaire systems?
Very, very different. I really like this game.
Yeah.
I think the theme of this game is also very cool as well.
Right.
Like the Leader Series games, whilst they're very good, they're very similar. You play one, you pick up the next one, you're like, oh, I know how to play this game. Right. It was nice learning an entire new system from DVG, which was really cool. And this is a theme that I think a lot of people who play war games are going to like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's World War II and it's ground units. We all like that.
Yep.
That's very appealing to a lot of people. System-wise, it is very clever and it works very, very well. And I imagine that this could be transposed into a lot of different things as well.
Right.
That wouldn't be too difficult to do.
Anything that has, in essence, a static point of defense, whatever, it could be a building, it could be a trench line, with a group assaulting it, this kind of a game will line up with that.
And you could reskin it to do that, but I think
Yeah.
you could also be very clever in a totally different tactical situation that would provide different things. I think they could do a lot with the skeleton of this game, which that's very exciting to me. Yeah. I would love to see more of this because it's again a great new solo system.
Yeah.
I think this is a big winner. Even from the cards, the Russian cards, the operational ones, there's this little fog of war system.
Oh, I hate the fog of war.
It's the dumbest thing.
But it works
just,
well.
Kills
it
you.
works well,
It works really well. It's quite simply, you have the signal core, I think is what they're called. So you've got these 4 communication spaces where we're trying to get lines, like phone lines and communication lines in. Every time those get disrupted and destroyed by Stukas, you add a fog of war card into the deck.
And there are 7 of those, and they're just trash cards. They just clog your hand up.
And you just put it in the discard pile. When you reshuffle the deck, and so every so often you get this terrible hand with fog of war cards, and you're like, oh my gosh.
I think one time we drew 3 fog of war.
That was really fun.
And typically when I'm playing solo, I will fight tooth and nail to keep those fog of war cards out. And there's actually an action, if you use the signal core card, you can remove
if these are all undisrupted.
Is it okay if they're all undisrupted?
So you got to do that.
You can play that card to then get rid of a fog of war card.
So you want to do that early.
That's hard to do, man. It's hard to do.
But that's some,
well done.
It's very well done. And that's something that I was very impressed with this game.
Yeah.
If I had one thing that I maybe think should be improved, is there could be better artwork on the board.
Agreed.
The tactical side.
This is really nice.
Awesome.
This seems, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it fits with this.
Yeah,
frankly.
it's and the Volga side is quite just a basic map, and it could be pimped up a little bit nicer.
Well,
this
and,
next round, but
and I think the artwork on the cards is really great. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. Maybe they could have incorporated that style into the board itself.
and all the other components, I love them.
Yep.
I actually think a lot of these are better than a lot of the other. Some of the leader series, I got Napoleon, Field Commander Napoleon as well. Some of them aren't centered well. These are all pretty decent. A couple of the round ones are a little bit off.
Yep.
But the counters themselves are really great. They're good, thick, sturdy ones. And I think the quality of components is really good as well.
Well, the interesting thing, I was showing you my action discs here, and I've played 9 times now, and they're starting to show a little wear. But that's not bad.
But you sit there and fiddle with them.
Yeah, and my hands get sweaty, right? You're, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Time to get some of those red bead gems.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. The other thing I thought was cool is they do include, for all of these stacks of resource counters, they actually give you a bunch of wood that
Yeah,
coincides
that's nice.
with the colors. So if you wanted to, you could use the colored wood cubes rather than the round counters. I like the counters. I think they show up better. But you definitely could use that, and I thought that was cool.
So I think what we'll do is I'm going to very briefly show you a little bit of the mechanics because Grant's going to do a bit
Right.
more.
I'm going to do a playthrough, so we're just going to show you some of the elements, but we'll show those elements, and then we'll come back with some final thoughts.
So here's kind of a look at the board. This is some end game. This is kind of how our game ended. So you can see there's the 3 section. Here's the Volga with a lot of the kind of operational support level stuff. In the middle here, if you can kind of see, there's these tracks that have these grey Wehrmacht counters on. There's red ones, purple one, and 2 green ones. And there's this little space down here for the 13th division. Is it division? Who knows? 13th. But I want to say it right. Guards division. It is division. Thank goodness. And then over here you actually have Pavlov's house. And if you look inside Pavlov's house, there's also these green sections over here where we've got guys in them. There's purple ones here on the right flank. And then you've got these red ones here on top as well. So this is where you're trying to get supply over the river from the staging area. You have artillery spots where you can put artillery. You got some anti-aircraft spots where you can put out these anti-aircraft counters. And then you have these at the signal core here. You're trying to keep your communication lines open for better communication, see if you can supply more cards and do more things. Yeah. So the game, we played it co-op where you kind of split this up. I was in charge of doing this, and then I managed these as well. And Grant did a lot of the tactical stuff. And I think that that's cool from a theme standpoint because, as on the operational level, there's only so much that I can do. I get the stuff there, you got to do the fighting. And on the other side of that coin is he's like, I got to do the fighting, but I can only work with what they give me. So I'm desperately trying to get stuff over, and he's desperately trying to use to the best of his ability. And I think that's cool that I don't have control over everything, and neither does he. So that gives you actually a pretty cool feeling that's probably quite realistic in that way. But the gameplay itself, basically, you have these operational cards. Normally you draw 4 of them, and you play 3 of them. And each of these are dual-use cards, so I can either do this or this. And so I'm going to try to do this. And basically what this is I'm going to move 2 food and a first aid over the river. So that was one of my 3 cards that I can play. I can't play all of these. And for this one, I'm going to put down an anti-aircraft token in the 1083rd anti-aircraft regiment there. And then down here, I'm actually going to do the same thing, but for the 267th. So I'm going to put those up here as well. So now if we get attacked, I'll be in a good spot to try and defend myself. So that's it. That's what I did over there. To get these off and into Pavlov's house, I got to play another one of these cards. So I'm looking for that next turn. Then the Germans are going to do one at a time. They're going to do 3 cards. And some of the things here are pretty interesting, so we'll get rid of those. here we're looking at, this is the building gets attacked. So I'm going to roll a d6, roll a 1, so we're going to get attacked on the green section. Well, green section's on this side of the house. So quite simply what I do is I roll 5d6, and I'm trying to get up against this number here. I know it's kind of hard to see. This is a track 6, 5, 4, 3, and you start on a 6. So we're going to roll 5 dice, and all I need to do is roll 1 6, which I successfully do. When I say successfully, the Germans were successful. That's bad for us. This 6 goes down to a 5. Now it's much easier for them to attack next time. They need 5s and 6s to reduce this down. And once this starts getting this low, it's then really easy during assaults for them to come in and disrupt and kill my guys off. So that's not good for us. So that was an attack. That was the first of 3 German cards in this phase. So the second one, oh no, we're doing another attack. This one's not as powerful, only rolls 4 dice instead of 5. So we're going to attack number 3, which is this red section. It's going to go up here. This track's also on a 6 up here at the top. So we're going to roll 4 dice, needing a 6, which we don't get, so that attack was ineffective. That was very good for us as the Russians. And this one is a scout. So we have a scout marker here. Oops. Scout marker has... A scout marker would roll 1 attack dice if it attacked, but you have to roll a 5 to kill it, which for me is very, very difficult. Basically, to place this is going to go on one of these 6 tracks here, and we just roll a dice, and it goes on number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to go on this 4 track here, and it goes on the first space available and bumps this Panzer III down a spot. If this Panzer III makes it onto this spot and then into the house, I immediately lose the game. So this is that kind of states of siege, these kind of tracks that we were talking about. The wave after wave of troops and tanks are going to come after you. You don't want to totally get eaten alive. But that's that. The Germans do 3 things, and then they're done. And then you get onto this tactical phase over here. During the tactical phase, you have 3 action markers. And the action markers can be used to do a few things. You're going to be using them to activate commanders. You're going to be using them to do attacks. And you're going to be using them to try and rally guys and do some bits and pieces. So the first thing you have is down here in the corner, which you can't really see. I've got this whole group of guys in a reserves box. You have 3 movement points. You can move 3 guys. And that can either be moving guys out of spaces or moving them up from reserves and things like that. So I think what we would do is let's bring up, this guy's going to go up here to this window spot so he can shoot out if he needed to. And I'm going to bring back this exhausted guy. He's going to go to the reserves, and I'm going to replace him with Kislev here, just for fun. So that's like 3 movement points, basically. And then you've got these 3 actions to spend. I'm going to spend 1 to activate Pavlov, and when I activate him, he's going to unexhaust 3 guys. So we're going to unexhaust my 2 machine gunners up here, and we're going to unexhaust one of my other machine gunners up here. So you need 2 machine gunners on this gun, and they both need to be unexhausted to use this. So this is no good to me right now. This one I can use right now, so that is good. And I do have an anti-tank gun with 2 crew as well, so we can use that to do some attacks here. I do have 2 counters left, so one of those we're going to use, and we're going to fire this machine gun. Now this little machine gun's in the corner of the building, which is special because it can do green or red. So I can attack anyone in these red tracks or these green tracks. And I'm thinking, let's attack. This is not good. He's starting to encroach. We're going to try and attack these scouts. So I need to roll a 5. Now what's nice here is that I have these guys here. So my this machine gun rolls 2 attack dice. Because he's got an improved gunner, I'm actually going to roll 3. This 3 number here is if I was to do suppression, which is something different, and we'll get there in a second. So we're just going to do normal attack. Let's stack those here. I'm going to attack this guy. I'm going to roll 3 dice, and I need 5s because he has a 5 defensive value. And fantastic, where were you during the game? We kill this guy, he simply gets removed. That is a successful attack. In doing so, I exhaust both of the gunners. So they're going to need to be unexhausted again next turn. And you can see this exhaustion action economy here is going to become very, very, very important. We're also going to fire the anti-tank gun with my last action. So I've got 2 guys who are unexhausted manning it. And he's an improved gunner. So the anti-tank gun that we've got would find 4 dice normally, because it has a 4 value. We're going to add 1 because we have the improved gunner. I'm going to shoot the Stug 3. I need a 5. Just need 1 5. And I got 1. So he's going to get removed as well. I'm making it look easy. It is not normally this easy. But that's all my actions. I'm totally done. I can't do anything else. There is a way to get a 4th action, and that's if you have all 3 of your leaders in the house at any point. Technically I do, but I just didn't want to do that for now, just to show you. And that's it. That was a whole turn. You then go back to the beginning, you draw 4 more cards, and hope for the best here. So I got one of those Fog of War cards. This is nothing. You just throw this away, that's very bad. I've got more anti-aircraft here if I want to. I think I'm going to put out another anti-aircraft. I put one up here. Those are going to be great. I can put out an artillery barrage if I want to here. That's a token we're going to spend later. Now for this last one, I have a sapper action I could use, but there's no sappers in the house, so it doesn't do me any good. So I've got Signal Battalion. I can remove a Signal Battalion from here if I want to. Or I could place one of these out and it acts as a buffer. And you would want to do this because there are these objective cards up here called the operational support cards. And it's like, I can remove ammunition, water, like a food or water supply, and a first aid. If I have those, I can just remove them from the game, and I can get 3 points. But I can only do that if the 62nd Command Outpost, the 13th Command Outpost, and all of the Signal Outpost stations are undisrupted. Right now, this is undisrupted here, so we meet that criteria. This one is disrupted, but if this wasn't here, and I would need all 4 of these signal ops to not be disrupted. So that's very, 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 very hard to do. Let's get that in focus so you can kind of see that. Again, that's not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, because there's so many spots here, it's very easy for this to get clogged up. But if I didn't have those, and say if I had, all of these in my staging area, for example, this is up here, I would just, as soon as I meet that criteria, I can say, sod it, I'm going to spend these, get myself 3 victory points. Yay, it goes into my victory display. That's how that's done. And then at the end of the turn, you would just draw another one. And some of these are very, very, very difficult. So I have to remove a sapper, a first aid, food, and an ammunition. And I got to have my whole supply line here free, and all my artillery free, and the 62nd free as well. So you have to work really hard to do these, and if and when you can, you should be very opportunistic about those, because that's free. But it's free points if you can get it to go. You have to do a lot to do them, which is nice. And then you go do more of these attacks. So the Stuka dive bomb is something I wanted to show you. So this means there are 2 Stukas, and you need 4s to shoot them down. And what we'll do is we're going to spend 2 of these green counters. Each one counter gives you 2 dice to try and shoot one down. So the first one we shoot down need 4s. I shoot one of the 2 Stukas down. I spend my second one. I got 2 more dice. I miss. So one of the 2 Stukas gets through my 2 anti-aircraft I chose to spend. I did have a third one, but I didn't choose to spend it, so it is what it is. And a Stuka, you just roll 3d6, and that's what it does. So I rolled an 11, so my 11 space here becomes disrupted. If I'd have rolled a 10, I simply remove this. Very, very bad. All this hard work that you've put into doing these. If I start rolling 5, 6, and 7s, I'm going to lose these supplies I've got going across the river. And if you roll an 18 and you're very unlucky, and you roll an 18 again and you're incredibly unlucky, you immediately lose the game. So don't do that. But what happens is, if I roll an 11, I simply go to the next highest and that gets disrupted. So if you start getting 10, 11, 12, 13, all these disrupted, these start to pile up real quick, and then you'll eventually end up losing, so you have to be careful to remove those disruptions. To remove the disruption, you simply, instead of doing all the cool stuff here, like putting out an artillery, you just say, I'm going to remove a disruption from an artillery. Great. And that doesn't feel like it's doing a lot, feel like you're like not helping these guys tactically, and that you're like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you. I'm just trying to not die over here. That's what it feels like. But that's the great part of this game, is you've got all these different decision makings to go on, and you're like, oh man, I might lose over here, but that might cause me to lose over here. And that's great. That's really a lot of tension in this game. That's the basics of what it is, and I'll show you more in a later review, but I just want to wrap up with some final thoughts now.
So that was a look at the board. What final thoughts, man?
I enjoy this game. I've played it 9 times.
That's a lot for us.
And frankly, I play it 9 times because it plays in an hour. It's easy to set up. It's easy to tear down. And I can leave it in the middle, right? I've told you I just have to kind of put a die. Oh, here I am. I put a die here to remind myself. I like it. I really do.
So the co-op one that we did is basically we just divvied up the board in half.
Which it's not great, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's fine.
We still worked together and talked about what should we do.
But that's just it, though. Like, we're just hanging out, moving stuff around, having a good time.
Right.
Like,
right.
It's not necessarily like the biggest, deepest game with 2
Right.
people. With one person, there's plenty to do. With me, I was doing the operational stuff and I was in charge of the Wehrmacht stuff, which is why we were close to losing.
You did fine.
So, but like, you know, I'm drawing the cards, trying to get supplies to you, and then you're the one who's like, crap, I got to work with what this chump gave me.
Yeah, right.
And there's some fun stuff to that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's cool.
But I did like talking. That's one of the things I like about cooperative games is you can talk things through.
Yeah.
What should we be doing? What shouldn't we do? Oh, I like this better. And we would have done the the competitive, but you had never played, and I felt like I wanted to make sure you understood how to play.
Does one person play as the Wehrmacht?
Yes, so you play the Wehrmacht. I'm not exactly sure how it works because I haven't read all those rules, but the player plays as the Wehrmacht, and you know the cards get drawn, so it's not like you're doing
I would just
a whole
pull the
lot.
card on it, but I would choose where it goes. Maybe.
Probably, I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Sure. But definitely an interesting game. What are your thoughts? What are your final thoughts?
This is a great solo game. Well, I know we played it cooperatively,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I could play this on my own. You've played this how many? 9 times?
This is my 9th time.
So, do you want to play it more times?
I do.
And that's how you know it's a good game,
In
right?
fact, I think when you leave tonight, I may just play it one more time.
It's just
Because I want to add in all the operational support and the tactics, and I want to see how hard that is.
just brutally.
Yeah, just
crushing.
kill myself.
Yeah, I had a blast playing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very, very cool ingenuitive
Yeah.
system, and I think that is a credit to the designer.
Yeah.
And I'm glad this game was made.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this has a lot of potential. For the future
I think
as
as far as I've played 5 or 6 new solitaire games this year, this is probably the second best of those 5. The only one I think I enjoyed more was Attack of the 50-Foot Colossi from Tiny Battle Publishing. This is more historic, and I think a better implementation of a very neat system. But that game I really, really, really liked. But I think this is going to be in my top 10 games of the year.
Do you know how much this one retails for?
I do not.
I don't off the top of my head. I
I
can't
don't.
remember.
Just off Kickstarter.
It was on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I can't remember how much it was.
But I think this is definitely a great value. You're going to play this and play this and play this. So it's if you spend $60 or $70 or $80, you're going to get your money's worth.
Yeah. Do I wish there was a little bit, a bit more in the artwork. But
Right.
the gameplay itself is more than enough for me.
Absolutely.
So this is if you play solo games, you like World War II, you want to.
You'll love it.
This is a great game.
So definitely, I think in our opinions, this is a great game, both solo and cooperative. So I'm going to do a full playthrough. I'm also going to do a review through of the solo system. I'll try to do those over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll have those up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm telling you, I like Pavlov's House quite a bit. I think this is a great game. Well done, DVG. Well done, David Thompson. I think you guys did a great job with this game. So I've been Grant for theplayersaid.com.
And I've been Alexander.
Thanks for watching.